Cheers.
International season. It's upon us.
It is upon us.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
There's been a little bit of deja vu there, I think. Most wonderful time of the year indeed. Yeah. I was thinking about it on the way here, and it's an extremely uncertain international window, if you think of it.
Yeah. I mean, you have England who seems to be underperforming. You've got Ireland, who's coming off the back of a win against New Zealand in November.
Yes.
And then you've got the Welsh teams that haven't performed in the URC at all.
Yeah.
But don't ever
and
write
not in
them
the Six
off.
Nations.
Never write them off.
They're our bogey team as of late.
Yes.
So the style they play, we counter each other. The Springboks and the Welsh, the styles we play are actually very similar. And we seem to not be at our best when we play them. Yeah,
I think it would be foolish to write them off.
Definitely foolish. So they're going to try new combinations and new guys, and I don't know how much you followed the press in the last couple of days.
About?
One thing I saw today was coming from the press, from the Bok camp, is that Willie Leroux might be the backup fly-off option.
Yeah.
Which him losing a bit of pace possibly.
And we mustn't disrespect Wales too much.
No,
I'm a little bit.
Is an interesting one, and it shows you the lack of our options at fly-off as well.
So they said even Cheslin Colby and Willemse they'll consider it fly-off.
Yeah, Willemse as well. Yeah. So they're probably throwing a few guys in there. And then the other thing I saw is that Dion Fourie as a possible starter.
Yeah, the oldest Springbok debut ever.
Debutant.
Yeah. But they said off the bench.
So
Kwagga and Dion Fourie on the bench.
Okay.
To come on late and
Jasper.
And fetch.
Yeah.
Fetch everything.
Yeah. Fetch the crap out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so new combinations, new players. Well, actually, not that new. Jasper will get a chance to start and prove himself in a different environment, because he's been there for a little bit now, and he's had more chance to train, and it's not all those COVID disruptions and everything. And I hope he shines. Man of the match in the Gallagher Premiership final.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
I'm in two minds. I hope we're not underestimating them, but I also hope that we don't get too experimental.
Yeah, definitely. No, they won't. They're a lot about. Jacques and Rassie are a lot about continuity. So and the fullback's going to be very interesting. The rest of the stuff is all. It's Cheslin Mapimpi. Is Willie going to start at fullback? How many years does Willie have left in him? It's sort of a last chance saloon for him, I think.
Yeah, like 15 or so.
Yeah.
But just looking at the England's game against the Barbarians, is that anything to go by?
I actually think it is. For the following reasons. Firstly, there were a lot of the Barbarians players that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
They had a Georgian on the wing. They had a fly off and a scrum off that's almost an unknown to me. A Fijian at inside centre and that sort of thing. And they played with 14 men for like half an hour, and they scored most of their points after the player was sent off. And England couldn't get through against 14 men. But you can never read into it too much. Okay, so fair enough. There were no Saracens and no Leicester players.
So no South Africans and no Tongans and Fijians and New Zealanders.
But it was still a pretty good team. I watched the game.
Oh yeah, Marcus Smith.
Marcus Smith. No, but I thought it was on paper the team looked good enough to beat them. But they didn't play well, and they looked planless, and the commentators were extremely hard on them, and they
it's England,
sort of almost running out of patience with Eddie Jones. But and Australia, on the other hand, they've played against New Zealand opposition the whole time.
Yeah.
So they should be well prepared.
Pacific nations.
Yeah, in Super Rugby.
But they had a good run against us, but otherwise at the end of your tour they weren't any good, so it's hard to call.
But it looked as if they're building. I think Dave Rennie is the right guy. They must also find their combinations and stick to it. So I actually think Australia, it could be very interesting. I might go for
Especially, I mean, last England won there.
Yeah.
3-0.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to go with predictions when we're done with
Yeah.
because I would like to do a few predictions of what I think is going to happen in the 3 tests.
Now is actually the game that actually I'm looking forward to more than the Springboks and the Wales.
Yeah.
New Zealand, Ireland.
New Zealand, Ireland. Yes.
We've played against those teams now in the URC and that, and we see the quality and.
Yeah, it's the first time in my mind that New Zealand is almost an unknown to me at the moment. They didn't have a good tour end of last year, and they're bleeding the new talent. They're bringing in the new talent, the young guys whose names I've heard very little of. Your Dalton Papali, and there's a completely new scrum half that I don't know. They left TJ Perenara out. They're sticking with some of the older props and not bringing young guys through that they thought might come through. And the New Zealand press is also like sort of not completely happy with what's happening.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Irish, who the core of the team is Leinster, and Leinster played a hell of a lot of rugby. And they also coming in at a bit of a low. So the core of their provincial did extremely well and ended badly. So I don't know what you think.
I'm just thinking now, this season is now the beginning of the build-up to the Rugby World Cup, and we know that Ireland they have a great team always, but when it comes to World Cups, they always sort of can we use the word choke?
Yeah.
And we saw their quality at the end of last year, and can they bring it into this season, and can they start this build towards this new towards the World Cup?
Yeah.
And kick ass.
I think it will be the goal would be to stick to the style of play, extremely quick at the rucks, but extremely structured.
Yeah.
Because the one thing we could say about New Zealand is that it sometimes gets a little bit too loose.
Yeah. Yeah. Ireland's almost like they're expansive but structured.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The passes, it's like training ground stuff, where New Zealand is play what's in front of you. And back your skill and back your power and your amazing outside backs. Get the ball to them very quickly. It's very dangerous to say that New Zealand is not going to win.
Never say that. I mean, just playing in New Zealand, that's 15 points.
Yes, yeah.
So I think if Ireland can somehow overcome that, I mean, they've never won there, ever, but there's always a first time.
Yes.
And if ever there was a time to do it, I think it would be now.
Yeah. And then France is playing Japan, which we're not going to... It might be a good competition for them as well. Japan is not a complete walkover.
Yeah.
The Japan that we have now.
I just think that France is their quality.
France will be too strong. Man for man, they'll be too strong. You said 2 tests, no? Against Japan. So are we going to go for a few predictions?
Yeah, let's go with predictions. So should we start with the
let's
leave the Springboks to last.
Okay,
let's pretend like that's more important than New Zealand, Ireland.
France, Japan 2-0 for me, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we go with England, Australia.
I think 2-1 Australia.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You're reading my mind. You're bulimic.
Bulimic.
That's a Zoolander thing. So
yes, please do not
be
against. We're not against or for.
It's a joke that's already been made.
Yeah. Yes.
Sure. I want to say the same. I think Australia is going to win.
Yeah.
2-1.
2-1 because Australia seems to pull things through.
Yes.
Like they're going to win narrowly.
Yeah.
They're kind of like where we were a couple of years ago, where we like sort of just beat these teams.
Yes. I think England's going to win the last game. Or the first game. No, I think they're going to win the last game.
I think England's going to win the first game narrowly, and then Australia is going to narrowly win the next 2 games.
Okay. I'm going to go last game. I think Australia is going to come out of the blocks very well in the first game, and then the last game, when it sort of doesn't matter anymore, they're going to try a few combinations, and then England's going to win the last game.
Okay, then New Zealand, Ireland.
New Zealand, Ireland. I think the same.
There are a few scenarios in my mind. Scenario 1. Ireland, they get blown away by the New Zealand onslaught in the first game,
Yeah.
and New Zealand runs away with it
Yeah.
in the first game,
Yeah.
and then they carry on with that momentum into the second and they win all three. Or Ireland somehow they lose narrowly the first game and then win the last two. Those two in my mind.
So pick one.
So either Ireland's going to win 2 out of the 3, or they're going to win none.
Okay.
Those are my predictions. The
Pick
Prophet
one.
Johan speaks.
Who's going to
Behold.
win the series? Is New Zealand or Ireland? That's a big pause.
I don't know. What do you think? Just go for it.
I think New Zealand. 2-1 as well.
Do you think Ireland will win a game?
I think Ireland might win a game. Same again. Last test, a few experimental things because they have got a lot of young guys and they're trying new things. But I think the Irish players had with going all the way in the European Cup and all the way in the URC with Leinster.
Tired.
I think they're going to be a bit tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think back to 2012, when Ireland was there, they went with worse odds and they could have won.
Yeah.
Should have won.
Yes, but it's so hard to say. They are just so structured and disciplined. Like I said, for football fans, they're like the Germany of rugby. Everything's those passes, behind the back passes and stuff. The pass is never here.
Yeah.
It's always there, perfect in the bread basket, and the cleaning at the ruck is so quick and everything is just so precise until you put them under a bit of pressure.
Yeah. Maybe the old heads are tired.
Yeah.
Sexton and those guys, maybe. I wasn't impressed with him in the URC when he then came on, and also when he played in the final against La Rochelle. I feel like they're putting all their faith in that guy.
In Sexton.
And I think they must start finding their new hero.
Yeah. And that's Ross Byrne.
Ross Byrne.
Which hasn't impressed me that much yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1, but I also won't be surprised if it's like one game each and a draw. Or something ridiculous like that.
I think that'll be a win for Ireland if that happens.
That'll be a win for Ireland.
Not because I don't believe Ireland can do it, but it's because you never play there.
But it can so easily be 3-0 and they can just be blown out of the water by pure skill and pace and strength.
Yeah.
And,
you play very well in the one game and you can bring it close, and the next game you lose by 40.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think Ireland is a better team than New Zealand.
Yeah, they are actually. Yeah.
But it's kind of like when the Lions came last year here.
Yeah.
I feel like the Lions were maybe a better team than the Springboks. But because they never come play here, none of those players, they come play here like every 5-6 years. I mean, the Welsh have only been here, the last time they were here was 2014. What was 2014?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, and I mean, if you think about who else, Scotland.
And then we won by like 2 points or 3 points or something. There was a red card and a penalty
someone
try.
shouldered Cornel Hendricks in the face.
Yeah.
So it's just the whole thing of going there.
Yeah.
That's your only
The
problem.
only one we're sure of is that France is going to beat Japan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say 2-1, and then Springboks Wales. I'm putting it to you first.
Springboks 3-0.
I also think
so.
Springboks 3-0.
I think there's going to be a skrik. There's going to be a fright somewhere in the series.
Yeah.
Where they're going to come close, but I think that we'll beat them in all of them. We should. Just based on URC.
Yeah. And I think Scotland's playing Argentina. You just mentioned that. We're not over there. I think Argentina will beat Scotland. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I actually don't know where Argentina is right now.
They're going to play somewhere.
I know where they're on the map. I just mean in terms of form.
Yeah. Not sure. Okay, but looking forward to. I think it's extremely interesting because I think all those teams, maybe except for Ireland, are going to try new things. They're going to try new things. England might start with Marcus Smith at fly off, and who knows Australia, who they're going to play, and they're going to try new things as well. And the same with New Zealand. The two most settled teams are probably the Springboks and the Irish, out of everyone.
And the Irish must just believe. They must believe when they go there. They mustn't go there and think, oh.
What do you want to happen?
I want it to be, just want it to be
You
close.
want the Irish to beat the All Blacks.
I do, like, just I can't help
because
it. Yeah,
the All Blacks are always perceived as being the best.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the Irish. I think they.
I also like the Irish. From the Northern Hemisphere teams,
I don't like to play them, but
I like the Irish the most.
but I think they're a cool team. They're not pretentious. I think.
No,
And I think
like
they
where
got
they're going.
talent and they're hard, and I think
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.